If you're a veteran or you love one, there's something happening with VA benefits right before July wraps up that a lot of people are going to miss simply because of how the calendar falls this year. In the next few minutes, why your July 5th A payment is arriving on a different day than you might expect, a program that's leaving real money unclaimed for veterans who don't even realize they qualify, and a set of proposed changes that are getting a lot of buzz online that you need to understand clearly because there's a big difference between what's actually law right now and what's still just talk in Washington. Let's get into it. First, the payment date. If you receive VA disability compensation, you're used to getting paid on the first business day of the month for the month before. But this July is a little different because August 1st falls on a Saturday. The VA is sending July's payment early on July 31st instead. That's not a benefit increase, it's not a special bonus. It's simply the VA's long-standing rule of paying early whenever the first of the month lands on a weekend or a federal holiday. If you've got bills scheduled, auto pay set up, or a budget built around getting paid on the first, this shift can catch you off guard, especially if you're watching your account closely at the end of the month. Mark July 31st on your calendar so you're not left wondering where your deposit is. Now, while we're talking about payments, your monthly payment has already gone up in 2026. Back in December 2025, VA disability compensation increased by 2.8%, matching the Social Security cost of living adjustment for the year. That's not new, it's been in effect since the start of the year. But I bring it up because I still get messages from veterans who think their payment amount hasn't changed, when in reality, they just haven't checked the updated rate tables on va.gov. If you haven't logged in and compared your current rating to the current payment table, that's step one, today, not next week. Veterans assume that because they were denied a disability claim years ago or rated at a certain percentage a decade ago, that's the final word. It's not. If your condition has worsened or if new evidence has come to light, you can file for a rating increase. And separately, if you were exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, or other toxic substances during your service, the PACT Act significantly expanded which conditions qualify for compensation. Millions of veterans became newly eligible under that law, and a large number of them still haven't filed a claim. If you served near burn pits in the Gulf War era, in Vietnam, or in more recent conflicts, and you've never checked whether your health conditions now qualify, that's the second thing you should be doing this week, not someday. Before we go further, if you're finding this helpful, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel reach more veterans and retirees who need this kind of straight talk information, and I've got more practical breakdowns coming on exactly this kind of thing. Now let's talk about what's actually being proposed, because this is where a lot of confusion online is coming from, and I want to be very clear with you about the difference between a proposal and a law. There's a bill in Congress right now, sometimes referred to by names tied to specific service members, that would provide additional cost of living increases specifically for dependency and indemnity compensation, which is the benefit paid to surviving spouses and dependents of veterans who died from service-connected conditions. Under this proposal, that increase would begin in December 2026 if it passes. I want to underline that, if it passes. As of today, it has not been enacted into law. It's a bill under review with cost estimates published, but it is not something currently in effect, and no veteran should assume they're getting an extra increase this year based on this bill alone. Separately, you may have seen headlines about proposed cuts or restrictions to VA benefits. There is no enacted law right now that cuts VA disability compensation. What does exist are policy proposals, some coming from budget offices exploring ways to reduce federal spending, that have floated ideas like income-based eligibility thresholds for compensation, or changes to how certain conditions like sleep apnea, tinnitus, and some mental health conditions are rated going forward. These are proposals, not decisions. They would require actual legislation to pass before anything changes for veterans currently receiving benefits. And even in scenarios where rating schedules do get revised down the road, veterans who are already rated have real due process protections before any existing rating can be reduced. I say all this because fear-based headlines spread fast, and the worst thing you can do is make a financial decision, like rushing to file a claim out of panic based on something that hasn't actually happened. So here's a practical exception worth knowing. If you're currently rated at only 10 or 20%, there's a detail a lot of veterans don't realize. At those lower rating levels, you don't receive additional compensation for dependents, even if you have a spouse or children. That changes once you cross into 30% and above. So if you're sitting right at that 20% line and you know your condition has gotten worse or additional conditions have developed, filing for a reevaluation isn't just about a bigger monthly number. It could unlock dependent compensation you're currently not receiving at all. Imagine a veteran named Frank, rated at 30% for a service connected knee injury from his time in the Army. Frank's been getting the same payment for years and just assumed that's what it is. But Frank also developed hearing loss and tinnitus that he always chalked up to just getting older, never realizing that noise exposure during active service could actually connect that condition to his time in uniform. Frank never filed. That's not a hypothetical for a lot of veterans watching this. That's literally what's happening in living rooms across the country right now. The VA has actually gotten notably faster at processing these claims too. Initial disability claims that used to take well over 5 months are now frequently processed in under 2 months, and the agency's accuracy on decisions has improved as well. That means there's less reason than ever to put off filing. The old excuse of it takes forever and they'll probably get it wrong anyway carries a lot less weight than it used to. If you're a veteran who requires help with daily activities, things like bathing, dressing, or managing medication because of your service connected condition, there's a category called aid and attendance that provides meaningfully higher monthly compensation on top of your base disability rating. It's a relatively small number of veterans currently receiving it, which tells me a lot of eligible people simply don't know it exists or assume they wouldn't qualify. If you or your spouse need regular help with basic daily tasks because of a condition connected to your service, this is worth specifically asking a VA representative about by name. Don't just ask about increasing my rating. Ask directly whether you meet the criteria for aid and attendance. That one conversation could be the most financially significant 5 minutes you spend all year. The three things to walk away with today: your July payment is landing on July 31st instead of the usual first of the month date, purely because of how the calendar falls, so don't panic if you don't see it exactly when you expect. Second, if you were exposed to toxic substances during your service, or if any of your conditions have worsened, or you've never had a condition like hearing loss or joint issues evaluated for a service connection, checking your eligibility this week could put money back in your pocket that you're currently leaving on the table. And third, be skeptical of dramatic headlines about VA benefit cuts. Right now, those are proposals being discussed in Washington, not enacted changes to your current benefits, and existing recipients have real protections in place regardless. Log into your va.gov account, confirm your direct deposit information is current, compare your payment against the updated rate tables, and if anything about your service-connected conditions has changed or gone unclaimed, start that conversation with the VA this week rather than letting it sit for another year. You've earned these benefits through your service, and making sure you're getting everything you're entitled to isn't complicated. It just takes a few minutes of attention at the right time. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one.